Hey, howdy, y'all. Travis and Sterlann Brown here
Hi.
with another episode of The Stars Are Aligned. First one of the new year,
22.
2022.
Happy New Year.
Made it. Whew.
See what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, they're already at Omicron, so what else can they do?
Gamma.
Right? As long as it ain't Omega, I think we're okay. But tonight's episode is going to be on boundaries.
Yes. Boundaries. Setting boundaries in your life. Personal boundaries.
They're all personal, aren't they?
Yes, they are personal. But there are different types of boundaries, like sexual boundaries or financial boundaries or different kinds of boundaries. Just setting boundaries for yourself to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and not really living for others, and making sure that, they have their needs met and ignoring your own. So one of the things I think I wanted to talk about is recently, about 4 days prior to Christmas, our family dog Tick Tick passed away. And that actually comes into play with boundaries, because prior to having Tick Tick as our family dog, I was very judgmental regarding people with pets and how they were so sensitive to their needs and how they were...
No comment.
I was like, why are they so emotional about their pets? I would just kind of make fun. I mean, honestly, I never got it. And then I think when the first time I realized that I was that person was when Tick Tick, which is the dog that passed away, got injured while I was on a business trip, and I was out of control. I mean, I was crying in the meetings with corporate. And
ignore the man with the huge eyeballs over here.
And when I got off the plane, I was doing 100 miles an hour to get to my dog, not my kids, but my dog. And that's how emotional I was. And so now I don't care what people think about how emotional I got about my dog, because I've created that boundary, is that I'm going to feel the way I want to feel.
And I don't get in the way of that. I mean, my story, yes, we had a lot of pets growing up, but I never felt that attached to any of them. Kind of like the old Looney Tunes cartoons. We just drive off into the middle of the Everglades and then, look at that dog, we gotta go. And the dog would be left out there to their own devices. Maybe that's why dogs don't like me to this day. I don't know.
That explains why Tick Tick did not like you.
Yeah, he could smell the Everglades on me. He could. Now, Texas doesn't happen to have the Everglades, but I'm sure there's a lot of places we could leave him.
I have no idea.
West Texas oil fields, or at the Alamo, or
if I had known. If I had known.
Somewhere in the Metroplex, and just be like, Chuck Deuce, we'll see y'all later.
Enough about you leaving dogs or pets out to their own demise. But just to talk about setting boundaries. Now, we recently just watched a really good episode from the Red Table Talk regarding boundaries, which really set the tone for this topic today. And whether the boundaries that you're setting for yourself are long-term or short-term. So, for example, if you have, let's just say, a family member who behaves badly in your home, and you allow that to happen over and over again, then you're sacrificing yourself and sacrificing your home for this person's enjoyment or comfort, when you need to actually set the boundaries and say, hey, I do not accept this.
Or actually just their presence, because when you set the boundary, you're dictating the terms of them being in your space. That is like, if you do X, you got to go. If you do Z, you can stay. But we're not having the X, period.
Same boundaries as you set with children. If this happens, these are your consequences. So, and you
Yes.
are not accepting anything else. So when you're
Exactly.
a parent who sets boundaries and allows the children to manipulate those boundaries, then that's when things go haywire and you are sacrificing yourself.
Like, and you'll ask yourself, how did we get here? It's
And
like, if all you have to do is look back and when you were accepting all of the bad behaviors for whatever reason, and I know every situation may be different and there may be extenuating circumstances, but look for the pattern. Look
absolutely.
for the pattern because you will see quite clearly
And
where
how does
it's
it
at.
affect you? Does it make you sad? Does it make you angry? Does it make that situation of being around that person makes you anxious or fearful?
Do you feel disrespected,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, does being disrespected make you feel angry or sad or happy, or how does it affect your relationship with that person
Right.
or group of people?
Right. Even in the workplace, you have to set boundaries. And I make it pretty clear, I'm not an ogre at work, but I can have fun with you, but I'm not chilling with you. I'm not going to tell you all my secrets. I'm not going to, tell you where the bones are buried because I have to set those boundaries as a boss to be able to execute and enforce rules which I may not be following, but you don't need to know that. You know what I mean?
And again, that was one of the hardest rules I had to learn in the military. Is like I got promoted, which gave me different responsibilities and authorities, and these were my friends that I was now having to tell I mean, they knew where the bones were buried.
Mm.
They were hiding them themselves. Like, no, don't look over here, officer. But at that point, it's like, hey, you now have a different rank than I do. Now, granted, it didn't last that long because everybody I was friends with eventually got to the same level. But for a time, I had to set a boundary. I was like, I can't hang out with y'all like this. I have to have this thing done, even though 2 days ago I was talking about, man, that sergeant doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm that sergeant.
Right. Right.
And then again, like I said, my friends all got promoted to sergeant, so it wasn't a boundary that I had to hold for a long time, but there was a time where I had to have it.
And it can change. So your boundaries can change at any time. Wherever you've evolved, wherever you change locations or change jobs or responsibilities, things like that, you can always set boundaries and change them at any time.
Yeah.
It is according to how you feel.
This is true. But don't expect immediate compliance by everybody you know.
Absolutely. That's right. But you have to be consistent with that. And the boundaries don't have to be the same with everybody. So I can have a separate boundary for you that I do for someone else.
Yeah, there are going to be many blue and purple circles and going around everywhere within your group, within your, like, was it peer group, friend group?
Yeah, peer.
Whatever the relationship is. Within them, you can have smaller circles, bigger circles. Like, hey, just don't tell X or Y, but everybody else is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And do it that way.
Whatever he said. But I just wanted,
Just gonna blow it out.
as a relationship wise, I mean, like I have to set boundaries with my husband, and they may not have been the same boundaries I had when we first met. What are you doing?
I'm shaking my head.
Why?
They are not the same.
Yeah, they're not the same. So let's just say, for instance, as of today, like I would always take whatever he says as Bible. He's known as the smart person of the family.
Is this about the Bermudans?
Yes,
the
it's definitely about the Bermudians. So I used to always take whatever he said, was like, okay, he explained it. I asked him a question. He knows everything. So what he said was right. Well, I think as of maybe 2 years ago, I was kind of like, you know what? Let me check this out for myself. And I would challenge him now because he's not always right. I swear to God, he's not.
I'm just going to put it like this. People from Trinidad and Tobago call themselves Trinis. That is not the proper term, but I'm not saying that that's wrong. The proper term, of course, is Bayesian. But they don't call themselves that. They call themselves Trinis. That's the extent of the argument. I wish it was more
So,
complicated.
just for you to understand, his thing was rooted from. He asked me about why we always need to have that rum.
Okay, this is the Bermudan talking about the Bermudan rum, who doesn't know the name of the but it's called the Black.
Black.
No, it's actually called
The
Gosling
Black Seal. Yes. And I said, he's like, well,
Okay,
he
next.
wanted to know why we had to have it because we had a conversation before. So I said, because my niece, who's not even Bermudian, says that we should always have, because we are Bermudian, my siblings and I, have this drink because it's a Bermudian rum. We should always have this drink in our house no matter what. She made this comment on a text not too long ago, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know it. I'm Bermudian. She's not even a Bermudian. He says, well, they don't call them Bermudians. Yeah, they do. I'm from Bermuda. I know.
Do they call them Cubians or Cubans?
So I looked it up.
On Wikipedia, mind you, the stuff our kids can't even source
Oh my god!
when they turn in their
It
assignments.
was more resources, sources that I found that from other than Wikipedia.
And they were both right. Bermudans.
It was more than
and
two.
Bermudians is both correct, or both in use. Let's say that. But following the English syntax should be Bermudans. But I'll let it go because I'm not from Bermuda.
Thank God.
Even though that's where we want
Floridian.
IDA.
So my boundary, let's get back. Focus. My boundary is I am not going to let monopolize my intelligence.
I never...
No, you didn't. I did. I allowed to take whatever you said as Bible when I should be checking my own facts.
And you said this started 2 years ago?
Approximately.
When did you get the Google mugs and t-shirts?
About 4 years ago.
Let that set in. She's got mugs and t-shirts that says, I don't need
You should have wore it.
my husband, or I don't need Google. I know everything.
I know how to research. So anyway, my boundary at that point was I will not let him monopolize my mind. I have my own mind. And not only that, I'm going to let him know I have my mind. And I'm not going to let that interfere. I'm going to stand my ground. Even though he doesn't admit to being wrong.
Was I wrong, though? Both terms
or
were
being
used.
sorry. Things like that. I mean, the list goes on.
I'm going to apologize for
I'm not asking you to.
That's what you...
It's an example.
Oh, no. I'm going to set my own boundary right now because all you do is like, I need the apology. I need the confession. You're the cops, man. I don't care what you did. Confess to the crime.
See how he's being militant about
Whether
that?
you did it or not, confess.
So my other boundary is I don't let that shit bother me. You know what I mean? It used to, but now I'm kind of like, you know what? It is what it is.
Oh yeah, we have definitely settled in. There's a lot of BS going both ways, and we're just like,
yeah,
that's interesting.
See?
That was a choice.
So just not letting people get to you. You have to know when to cut it off. When you have conversations with someone and you're feeling uncomfortable, then you know how to. You have to be able to excuse yourself. Don't just sit there and tolerate it and get out of your comfort level. It is about you and your self-care.
Yeah, I will admit I don't generally set boundaries, but if you say something that I don't agree with or just like I can't continue this, I'll just clean walk off. I have no problem doing
Respectfully excuse yourself. There's a difference than clean walk off.
I don't know. I've hated people for a long time and they never knew it. I would find a way to extricate myself from the situation. Gotta go. Yeah, it's cool what you're saying, but I've got something else I gotta go
That's
do.
a respectful disconnecting yourself.
No, I would just say I'm gonna go I'm gonna go do.
Yes, you
No,
give
no.
them.
I would simply say it bluntly. Like, I'm going to go do
See what I mean?
this. Yeah, and you're saying I did. There was no disrespect. I just told you I'm going to go do that
And that's exactly
right
what I
now.
said. If
But
you
that's
just
not
rewind this,
that's
you'll
not
realize
respectful. That's just I'm telling you straight up.
it's more respectful than clean walk off.
I've done both. I wouldn't name names, but I don't want to get into that level of it. But yeah, I've clean walked
So
right off. Like,
just to
gotta
let
go.
everybody know that you have that right. You have that right to protect your home, protect your family, protect yourself. If something is not at your comfort level, and it doesn't, I'm not saying you can't be out of your comfort level, but to be able to say I will not tolerate that, or that's not acceptable, is okay. Don't be afraid to set boundaries. So if you even have friends that are bossy and you don't like them being bossy, then just say, hey, you know what? This is just not my cup of tea. This is not the type of conversation I want to be a part of, or these are not the kind of people I want to hang around. Oh, speaking of that, when we got engaged, prior to me knowing my wonderful husband that doesn't like to ever be wrong, I had a really good friend, and it was a little questionable, you know. But we were very good friends. So anyway, but when we got engaged, all of a sudden, my idea of life, things were getting more in perspective of what I was responsible for. So hanging around somebody who liked to drink all the time was no longer part of my drink and get drunk at 7 a.m. in the morning. That's different. We're having a cocktail.
No. We're fine. I'm just pointing out you're holding that in your hand as you.
This is my support system right here.
Hey, why would I ever let you be hypocritical?
Can you make it a questionable emoji somewhere?
I can probably find a way to edit that in.
Okay.
But do you really want me editing stuff in?
But at that point, I had to kind of cut off that relationship because it was too toxic. It would not have fit well with the life I wanted. So setting those boundaries were important, whether they upset the other person or not. You had to be consistent with that.
And like I said on the Red Table Talk, as soon as you set a boundary, you're challenging somebody else. So don't be shocked if they don't respond, amicably.
Right.
Because you're sending them into their spiral of like, well, who are the people around me that led to this, or what are the things that I do that you don't like all of a sudden?
All of a sudden. But like I said, it can change at any time. Right now. Yesterday, I could have been okay with people using the N-word, and today I'm not. So I refuse to listen to that music, or I refuse to be part of that conversation. And that's just an example. You have that right to change your boundaries and your mind regarding what makes you okay.
Right, because at the end of the day, you're letting someone else into your space. And with that comes, I guess, the assumption of privileges that may or may not exist. And if you don't clearly enunciate, here's where we can go, here's where we can, you've stepped out of this area, and now you're into, fight zone. How is the other person expected to know?
Exactly.
Particularly if they've known you for a long time or any length of time, or had similar behaviors over, repeatedly over and over again.
Right. Like if we had said to a friend of ours, hey, come on over, you can eat all the food you want, you can take whatever you need. And then now we're kind of like,
yeah, that's fine at Thanksgiving, but, mid-September is like, wait, what are you doing?
It's all about asking, because once they start feeling too free to just go into your closets or go somewhere into your pantries and just take whatever they want. It's all about the respect part of it.
And I'll say it depends upon the relationship, because there are some people we have literally granted free access to the house. Like, you can come in, you got the key, you got whatever you need whenever you need it.
Yeah, you say that, but if that person takes us up on it and comes all the time, every time, and just kind of unannounced, then all of a sudden we're having the conversation of, hey, they're coming over too much, all willy nilly. That's when you then you have to start setting the boundaries. So if you start off with free range, be prepared for some consequences. So if you don't set the boundaries up front and you're at free range with offering things, then be prepared to later that if it does not accommodate your needs, that you will have to set those boundaries. You're going to have that uncomfortable conversation with the person.
No, I don't deny what you're saying. It's just not my personal experience of, no, if I give you access to what I have, I literally mean it. I'm not worried about the frequency or...
You say that.
Yeah, because they're not taking something that I've expressly said they couldn't have or something like that. But if somebody wants to have food out of my refrigerator, I'm not overly worried, because in my experience, I'm trying to clean out the refrigerator anyway. So any help I can get. But if they take that
steak that you've been
they
marinating...
take the steak. It's knives out. Okay.
But he hadn't set no boundaries.
But the refrigerator is different than the freezer. They need to
ask.
It
doesn't matter where it is.
Yes,
if it's marinating in the refrigerator and they're like, oh, I'm going to take this steak, and what can you say? You didn't set any boundaries. And then they're going to be shocked when you do.
I'm only marinating for 30 minutes, then I'm cooking the steak. So it's usually not a problem. Now, if I'm thawing the steak and they cook it anyway...
Matter. It doesn't matter. And I don't even know what to say.
You'll forgive us for the fireworks going off in the background. It's New Year's Day.
Day after.
No, it's
New Year's Day. Oh yeah, that is the first.
So there's just some popping off going off in the background.
Yeah, some popping off going off right here next to me.
Yeah, we're 3 drinks to 2, and she. But that's fine.
And there are things like if I think about it, there are some boundaries I should have set on so many people that I didn't, and I regret that I didn't. You know, like when my father was passing away, I should have set boundaries with my stepmother, and I didn't. Things like that. And that I regret, because I lost a lot of personal time I should have spent with my father.
I mean, I've normally only set boundaries in like the workplace, or like I don't have any problems with your friends or my friends necessarily that come to mind, but definitely in the workspace. Like, look, this is when I gotta go. I cannot stay any longer. I wish I could. I know it may not lead to me getting, promoted or whatever, but I gotta go. Period.
Yeah. And
it did not matter which level of management I was talking to. They all came to know that this is what I do. This is when I leave. This is my schedule, and it is pretty much inflexible.
Right. And thanks to him, I mean, I didn't feel this way in the beginning, but for me coming home at a certain time, and I think now that our work schedule is a little different, I had to come home at a certain time in order for us to trade off changing of the guards with the kids. At first, I was like, now you're putting me in a box. You're making me come home. And I wasn't...
yeah, she felt challenged, yes. And she was defensive, and that's fine.
But now I'm grateful, because now I'm like, I got to go home. Whether you're working or not. 5 o'clock, I'm out of here. because
Oh, and don't think it was just like a sudden thing. I've been working on this
for
for
years,
years.
yeah. But now I'm happy,
Okay.
to come home in a decent hour or so, and this way I can set those boundaries at work. And it's like a domino effect. I think about other things where I would put I would sacrifice myself or my family for that. I'm not willing to do that anymore.
I've always just found it useful for my productivity throughout the day. It's like, look, if I know I have to leave no later than this time, I got to get everything I can done before then.
Mhm.
That was just one of the side benefits of setting a boundary at work. I'm sure there are others, but I can't think of any at the moment. Maybe you guys can leave some comments as to when you set boundaries and found unexpected benefits
Whether it's
or
personal,
consequences. Who knows?
personal, family, children, siblings,
Yeah, just
partners,
the way people talk to you or
yeah,
what you're willing to accept people
at the
talking.
store, the cash register person,
Mm,
whatever.
okay, let's not talk about your shopping exploits if we don't
And I do have
mind.
expectations. I don't feel entitled, but I
When it comes to customer service, that's I gotta disagree with you on that.
do I feel entitled though? Or
Mm,
do I just have
no, they
expectations?
ought to roll out the red carpet. I'm here. This is
Yeah.
my fifth time being here. They should know me by.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Okay. Well, because I've been Sterlann's husband at a lot more stores than she's.
It's just fun. I consider that just fun. I'm like, I got pull here.
Yeah, my wife. Oh, you're her husband? Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Well,
Well, I'm
Mrs.
glad
Brown said
that covers a whole lot of the road.
that you got connections. So.
Yeah, well, you got connections.
I like to meet new
I
people.
got people who have sympathy for me. We'll call it what it is.
They love us.
Yeah, well, eventually, yeah, because we. Well,
We
no,
we make
it's
a
never a
good.
bad
Yeah, it's
experience.
never a bad experience.
It's always like, oh, okay, well, yeah, never mind. I already know the
Yeah,
story.
we joke around a lot, and people are like, "Oh, you guys are a unique couple."
Oh, that's true. We get a lot of that, especially at the like grocery
Grocery
store.
store.
Oh
I'm
my
like, "Oh, this is just my boyfriend."
god.
I'm waiting for I'm getting this food for my husband so we can hurry up and get him fed at home so my
Mhm.
boyfriend can come back tomorrow.
An
Things like that.
inordinate amount of times. I just
You know where I learned that from? I learned that from my dad. My dad would always make fun like that, especially in stores and stuff like that. So, and it always broke the ice. So I that's where I got that from.
Okay.
So anyway, boundaries.
Hmm.
Even if it's with the partner you're sleeping next to.
Oh yeah, just again, the biggest part of it all is communicating what it is you need,
Hmm.
where it is you're not willing to go, and holding to that as best you can. Like,
Respectfully.
well, yeah, I mean, holding to it is like, no, I hear your argument, but I'm not moving off of my position. You can do that. It's like, no, I told you this is where I need to be, or this is what I needed. If you can't deal with that, here are your two options. You can leave, or you can get with my program right now.
Or there's a more respectful way.
How would you do that then?
This is how this makes me feel.
Okay, but I violated your feeling boundary or your emotional boundary.
Hmm.
What then do you do?
Then I explain on how it made me feel and what my expectations are to not make me feel that way.
Right, but I've expressed that I'm unconcerned with that. So what do you do then?
Then I protect myself and either not tell you the things about my feelings if that's the point you're going to make.
That seems, again, it's not as productive as letting me know that you are not willing to move off of that position.
No.
No,
I've
not
made myself clear on what I want and what I
right,
do
but
not
then
want. But you said I'm not willing to make that
right,
change. If
but
you're not willing to make that change, hold on. If you're not willing to make that change, then I have to make a change. And the change would be don't include you in that conversation.
But if you're going to cut me, well, maybe this is a relationship thing just between us. I don't know. But
We can't be the only ones.
no. I mean, what we're talking about, if you cut off the conversation and say, I'm never going to tell you about this, that sets up unresolved issues between our relationship.
But then that should also let you know that maybe there's something that you need to change about yourself if you want to be more included.
Right, but you're not enforcing your position. You're going to constantly move away from me.
I did enforce my position.
No, you're going to say what you need. I ignore it.
Ignore it.
And then you move further away. You're like,
that's right. I got to make the adjustments. I can't change you, so I have to change myself.
That seems to me counterproductive, because I think you should be able to talk about.
I agree.
Here's where I am. This is the rock or this is the hill I'm gonna die on,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to adjust. But what you're doing is you're constantly moving backwards. No. Retreat seems to be the wrong word, but that's what you're doing. You're moving away from me as I'm aggressively attacking your position. I don't know what else that would be other than retreating.
That sounds strategic, medievalish. Yes, I agree with that.
Not just
tactic.
medievalish.
But
you go ask anybody.
If
from
I
anywhere
say,
ever.
this is how you made me feel when I told you about my emotions and it didn't help me out, and you say, well, this is how I'm going to react each time,
Okay,
then guess what I'm going to do?
Okay, a little bit of inside baseball. We're having a conversation with us and you, but mostly us. She'll say something, but
Because we've had this argument before.
She'll make a lot of emotional decisions.
We've gotten off of boundaries.
Yeah, that's true, but you will make a lot of decisions based on emotion. I ask you to use logic. Neither one of us is going to get what we want, but those are the boundaries we've set for each other.
But thank goodness we love each other so much
Yes.
that my way of a defense mechanism, I guess you could say, to resolve it is to just be like, he is who he is. He's not hurting anybody. I just have to find a different way. Because if he's not going to change, then I have to change. There's no way I'm going to sit there and make you into something that you just can't do.
I'm just asking. Well, never mind. Again, that's a sidebar. That's a whole.
So my boundary for myself is I'm not going to make him take me there.
But you go there anyway.
And I deal with it on my own, and I come back to you. I don't go out the door.
Yeah.
I deal with it on my own.
It's 2022,
I process
babe. We
it
might be
on my
people.
own because I know who you are. I know what you are capable of. I know what you emotionally can absorb. I know what and what not to put on your plate. I know what I have to do differently.
Is it that, or you're just not willing to meet my demands of like, hey, I need perhaps not exact timestamps, but I need
you do need timestamps.
No, I need examples. I don't need you to quote dates and times. You say I do something, but you can't explain when I did that, or who I was doing it to, or what I was talking about, or what the argument was. You're just like, well, I felt bad. I don't know what the heck you were talking about, but I just remember I felt bad.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that topic another podcast.
I think we already have. We're just
going to end this one.
Yeah, this
and
one's
just make
been
some
about 35
wild, passionate love to get over it or something. Woo!
Yeah, this is a little bit perhaps closer than we thought with the lens we get.
Because we have had this discussion before.
We had this discussion tonight.
We've had it. This isn't new.
No. But again,
we're still here, so we know how to communicate. We know when to pause.
We love us, and we won't intentionally go too far. Like, I'm not trying to hurt her. She's not trying to hurt me. It's just during the conversation, one of us may take something out of context or Like, no, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what setting boundaries is ultimately about. Is like, you just hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is not a space I'm willing to go into.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Reasons why, be damned. This is what I'm expecting or what I'm requiring from right now versus, yeah, I respect what you're feeling and saying and doing, but that's not going to be allowed in my orbit space or what have
Absolutely.
you.
So when he gets all riled up, I just take my top off and show my boobies and just change the subject.
It works. I am but a man. I can't. What do you want me to say?
Okay. Well, thank you for joining, and I appreciate it. This is a really good topic.
Yeah.
And if you have any comments or suggestions about how you've resolved things and how you've had to set boundaries in your relationship or your life, we'd be very interested to know and to be able to share with others.
Yes, and please feel free, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Make sure if you're on YouTube, you hit that notification bell so you'll be aware of whenever we're posting videos. I know our schedule has been a little bit wonky.
He used the same word I used last time.
In terms of uploads, but we're trying to get over
Wonky.
get it. Yeah, well,
Bermudian.
New Jerseyan versus New
Bermudian.
Yorkers. Anyway, we're having another
Google
conversation.
Google it.
And you'll find both. But again, we'll see you guys the next time when the stars are close to alignment. Or, they're getting
They're
there.
wonky.
There's some wobble in the telescope. There's something that
It's a new year, babe. It's a new
yes,
year.
it is. And we're going on 13 now?
If you say so.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I think it's 13 because I think I mentioned 12 last time.
Yeah, we'll get there. Again, thank you all.
Years of marriage we speak of.
Yeah. Good night, and we'll catch you the next time when the stars align.